Election fever seems to have gripped Punjab. The Congress, which is in power in the state, has indicated that it will announce its chief ministerial candidate. AAP has already named Bhagwant Mann. We have with us our political editor, D.K. Singh, who traveled extensively across the state in Punjab and is back now. So let's try and understand from him what's the ground situation like. And today's polygraph question, he will answer that, which way the wind is blowing in Punjab. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Neelam. If you ask me a point blank question, which way is the wind? I'm
Yes.
sorry, I'm not getting into that trap. But what I can tell you is, while sitting in Delhi, the kind of assumptions and presumptions that I used to have, it has been a learning lesson going to the field. So, for instance, I used to think that, Captain Aminder Singh would be a factor.
Right.
So he may not go on to win, may not go on to form the government as such, but he'll be a big factor. But there is no such thing. There is no talk about the captain.
He's not a factor.
He's not a factor at all. So that is gone. He may win his own seat, and BJP has been traditionally contesting 23 seats there. So BJP will have a few seats. But together, whether they will cross even the double digit is pretty doubtful. We don't know. And the notion that I had here, presumption, I would say, where I stand corrected now, is the importance of these farmers.
Okay.
The prolonged year-long farmers' agitation. One thought that it will have a big, it has a significant bearing on elections, on the people's mood on the ground. But the fact is, people have just moved on. So you have about 22 farmers' unions coming together, forming a party and contesting. They may at best damage certain parties. Damage in the sense, it's a multi-cornered contest in Punjab this time. You have the BJP, you have the Shiromani Akali Dal, you have the Aam Aadmi Party, then you have Amrinder Singh and BJP. Then you have this farmers' union. So the contests are going to be very close. So even if, say if these farmers' unions, they manage to, get, say, 2,000 votes, 2,500 votes, 3,000 votes, even that will have a bearing on the election results.
Right.
Party will they affect most? We'll see. Although our colleague Chitlin Keseti has been talking to experts, he had written the story for the print also, that she would be these unions could be damaging the AAP. But my point is, the farmers' agitation having or driving the election narrative is not there on the ground. People have moved on, and they have got what they have wanted. And in fact, many people I spoke to are not really happy with the fact that farmers have taken a plunge into politics. That is out. The third presumption where I stand corrected is, I was writing off the Akali Dal. By the fact that, traditionally it has been very strong, and in no election has the Akali Dal got less than 24-25 votes, even in the worst case scenario. Still, we were thinking, because, on the farm laws, we thought they had lost face, and you did not really hear in much of buzz about the Akalis in the ground. One was writing them off because the BJP has split, and and Jat 6, you thought, because most of the farmers agitating here on Delhi borders, they were Jat 6. One thought that probably there is a huge amount of alienation because of the fact that BJP was part of the NDA when those contentious laws were brought in. But the fact is, on the ground, no, it's all about the organizational capacity of the Akali Dal. And organizationally, they sound to be the strongest right now, because as you have seen, the Congress is in a mess. So these were the three lessons for me, I would say. You talk about which way the wind is blowing. Well, if you go to the ground and if you talk to people, you see a lot of buzz about the Aam Aadmi Party.
Right.
So what people there call approach changers. That, we have had enough of this Akali Dal, we have had enough of the Congress. Maybe we'll try out a new party. Then some places you may hear it talks even about Delhi model. The fact is, the buzz this time is not as strong as 2017, I would say. So people are talking. So there's a lot of curiosity about AAP. And especially when you're talking with people who are in their 20s or 30s, you see a lot of support for the AAP. But then in 2017, what you saw, there were, everywhere you could see people with the Aam Aadmi Party caps, brooms. The buzz was much stronger in 2017 than now. Although even now there is pretty good buzz. And our people say, I was talking with our leaders there, I was traveling with them. They basically say that, our voters are silent. They're not exactly silent. They may claim, so they're talking a lot. But they claim that you will not estimate the degree of support that we have this time because they've gone silent. Well, let's see what happens. But yes, there's a lot of talk about the AAP this time again.
Well, you traveled extensively. I remember reading your interview of the chief minister. What do you make of him?
He is sharp. He may be coming across as somebody who is naive, politically naive or innocent. He is not. I'll give you just one instance.
Right.
There is expert in Dalit studies there, Ronki Ram in Chandigarh. Our viewers must be reading him. What he writes everywhere. Now, if you remember, the chief minister is doing his PhD from the Punjab University. So he's in touch with the people from the political science department and he's constantly in touch with them. So Ronki Ram with teachers, in Punjab, there's a lot of agitation by teachers actually who want UGC pay scale. They want 7th pay commission to be implemented. But the state government is not committing itself to it. So when Ronki Ram led a delegation of the Dalit scholar, Dalit studies scholar, when he led a delegation of teachers to the chief minister, Charanjit Singh Channi touched his feet and he actually created a lot of buzz in academic circles. So the fact that the CM is touching an academic's feet, but it has been weeks, the CM has not accepted their demands.
So perception.
That tells you how sharp a politician is. And normally you are talking about an interview, it's predictable, of course. Anybody you interview, any politician, he will tell you that his or her party is sweeping the election. And as Channi said, there is no internal bickering in the Congress. So that's okay, but he's much smarter. See the way he's playing. He's not projecting himself as a Dalit leader. Because, Punjab politics is largely inclusive. So if you're projecting yourself as a Dalit leader, you're trying to assert your identity, you tend to alienate others. So Channi is playing it very subtly, although he went to, Dera Balan. He spent a night there on the eve of the night before the Republic Day. There again, he was trying to basically Ramdasya community he belongs to. Ravidasya community there. And the Dera is a very strong Dera for this community. He spent the night there. But then he comes out, you hear him talking publicly. He is trying to project himself as somebody who cares for the poor, the privileged. So the fact that he's very smartly, he's trying to woo the Dalits, and at the same time, he's trying not to offend or alienate other communities. He's smart, I would say.
Well, during the course of this live, our viewers are also sending us questions. I'll start with a few of them. Saurabh wants to know, Congress will be announcing its CM face. How will the internal situation be affected with either Channi or Sidhu being announced as CM face, given that Jharkhand had also claimed that party workers preferred him over the other two?
Yes, so Jharkhand, his name was not even sent. So the 3 questions that the Congress had in their tele surveys, they have sent just 3 questions. One is Sidhu, Channi, and third is none of them. You don't declare an MD.
Right.
And as what we are given to understand is Channi is going to be the choice. And anyway, see these tele surveys, I won't comment much on them because it's all internal party exercise. They're subject to manipulation also if you want to. Who is going to check what the survey results is? But anyway, given that you have projected a Dalit chief minister, and you are hoping to actually somehow bring who the Dalits constitute about 32% of Punjab population. Every third Punjabi is a Dalit.
Right.
I really like to actually send a wrong message to them by basically saying that, okay, Channi is there just for few weeks more. And then if we win, there will be somebody else. Yeah, you expect a lot worse from the Gandhis, but not this kind of, that will be really preposterous. I don't see that happening. So Chennai is the face. As for the impact on the Congress, Navjot Singh Sidhu may make a lot of noise, but he also needs to acknowledge now, understand now he has nowhere to go. Because no party tolerates loud mouths, tolerates people who start questioning the high commands. Arvind Kejriwal will never tolerate it.
Right.
Modi will never tolerate it. So where else can Sidhu go? He has nowhere to go. Either he decides to float his own party, and then again there will be long struggle, and he may actually go into oblivion sooner or later if he wants to. If he wants to remain in the Congress because he has no other alternative, he will make some noises and he'll just settle down. I don't really see him revolting as such, simply because he has no options left.
Lavneesh wants to know, will Amarinder Singh be able to form a formidable party given that he cannot get enough seats for his party?
No, at this age, it looks difficult. What is happening is Amarinder Singh is finding it even difficult to get candidates for his party. As part of this seat sharing between him and the BJP and another political outfit, BJP is contesting from 67 seats. Aminder's party is contesting on Punjab Lok Congress on 35 seats. So he is not getting good candidates. In fact, some of his close aides have chosen to get the BJP ticket instead of going with him. Because they also know that at this age, if he's not back in office, there's no chance of them actually getting anything significant, in the next 5 years, because Captain Amarinder Singh will be getting older and older. He does not have the option of, nursing the party and, waiting for his turn 5 years later. It has to be now or never. And so people also know that now, because there is no buzz, he seems to be losing. There's no future in his party. So he's not even getting proper candidates.
Right. Prathmesh wants to know, if there's a hung parliament in Punjab, if there is a situation, and suppose Congress and AAP, they come together, they had done that in Delhi, will it be costly for AAP's future?
Hung assembly, I don't see that happening. See, in Delhi, the Congress went with the AAP because the BJP was a big threat.
Right.
And BJP could have split either of these parties. It was difficult to split the AAP, but Congress was eminently vulnerable, actually. And then they had to keep the BJP out of power if you're talking about 2013 experiment. In Punjab, that's not the option because, look, it has been a largely bipolar polity. BJP has been part of the SAD-led alliance. In NDA, BJP has been a junior partner there. So in NDA, you have Congress. AAP is a new entrant. AAP is trying to push through and wants to become the third alternative. Neither of these traditional parties wants AAP to emerge. So AAP, unless AAP gets a clear majority,
right,
there is no chance of, or there is a very little possibility of the AAP forming the government.
And
so what you may have is, if you go by the pre-poll surveys are showing AAP as the single largest party with about 35 to 40 seats.
Right.
They are giving Congress and the Akali Dal 30-35 each. If you have this kind of a scenario, even then you probably Sukhbir Badal becomes one of the major players, because on farm laws the SAD pulled out of the NDA, but right, that issue is over now. They can very well come back. And in fact, when I was interviewing Sukhbir Singh Badal, I was constantly kind of grilling him. Will you come back? Will you two come back if the situation arises? And he was saying, they have gone their ways, we have gone our ways, there is no possibility. Then I kept asking, are you ruling it out? He says, we'll cross the bridge where it comes. So he knows that if BJP manages to get, say, 7-8 seats, 10 seats with the Aminder, Akali Dal comes somewhere around 30, 35 and 40. The rest, once the AAP is out of the game, or seems to be out of the game, it won't be very difficult. We have seen many Operation Kamals in many states, and the AAP will be the most vulnerable there. So the entire scenario will change. If you have a hung assembly, then actually I will put my bet on the Akali Dal, for all you know, the NDA to be back in power.
Right. And Kunal wants to know your views on Channi flaunting his poor background and ED seizing crore of rupees from his nephew.
I don't know. Frankly, ED are doing something, do not really draw that kind of traction on the ground anymore, because it has become a pattern before every assembly election. When you have the opposition party or non-BJP party in power there, or the dominant party there, you see the ED and income tax and CBI, all the agencies, they start getting active. But these agencies, sometimes these things backfire also, because you saw what happened in Maharashtra.
Right.
Sharad Pawar was booked. And as a result, Sharad Pawar made it an issue of Maratha pride. And that hurt the BJP very badly there. Otherwise, probably BJP would have gone on to get enough seats to form the government.
Right.
Or not enough seats, because Shiv Sena also got a substantial chunk. But BJP would have been much, much better placed, but for the central agencies intervening in Maharashtra. Here also it's happening. But sympathy, no, Channi won't have any sympathy. As for his public image, yes, every party is talking about it, but don't forget, even the Channi government has booked Bikramajit here. Sukhbir Badar's brother-in-law, in fact.
Right.
So this political vendetta thing, everybody is talking about political vendetta there. So who is going to be blamed for all that? Yes, that does help the AAP in setting a narrative, because AAP is trying to say that, both these parties are corrupt and we are the only holy cow. So AAP may be trying to use it, but as far as I have seen on the ground, these issues are not really getting any public traction.
And Kunal wants to know, will the Aam Aadmi Party ally with SAT?
Ally with SAT? No.
SAT
will not ally with the Aam Aadmi Party. Although, there were some people I met close to the SAT leadership. They say, when it comes to that, we won't mind. But then AAP allying with SAT will finish up there. Don't forget, if you look at how the AAP started in Punjab.
The political future.
In 2014, AAP got 4 Lok Sabha seats out of 13 in the state. AAP got over 24% vote share. In fact, you look at the 2017 figures also. AAP might have, in 2017, AAP became the principal opposition party with 20 assembly seats, but its vote share stayed around 24%, a little over 24% again. But in 2019, AAP's vote share has gone down to 7%, with just 1 Lok Sabha seat. AAP is on a slippery ground. AAP may be hoping that, okay, probably 2014 and 19 probably do not reflect the sentiments for the AAP, because it was for Narendra Modi. But the fact is, we saw 2014 and 17, your graph was on. In 19, it's slipping, because the party was, everybody was squabbling there. The party there was this internecine war going on all through the 5 years. The narrative they have set is all diluted. Yes, people are curious about this experiment. Okay, should there be a third alternative? But then if you look at the trend, these sentiments are not really, you really wonder how much of these sentiments, pro-changes, get converted into votes for the AAP. I have my doubts, because I have traveled with AAP leaders there. Yes, there are some very popular AAP MLAs. Youngsters, yes. But don't forget, if you have say five-corner contest, let's call it 4-corner actually. There, if the contest is going to be decided by 1,000, 2,000 votes. So if one party manages to get even, say, 26%, 27% votes, it may emerge as the winner, we don't know. And the fact is, both these traditional parties, Shiromani Akali Dal and the Congress, have been constantly getting over 30%. Congress has been getting around 40%. Akali Dal wins around 40%. Look at Akali Dal's share even in the last election, where it came in the 3rd position. It came after AAP. It got just 15 seats. Still, on the seats that the Akali Dal contested, the party secured about 31% votes. The Congress might have won this time, but if you look at, say, 2012, when the Congress could not win, Even then, the Congress's vote share was around 40%. Go back to 2002 when Akali Dal had lost and Congress had won. Even then, Akali Dal's vote share was 38%. So these are two well-entrenched parties. So even if they lose a chunk of their vote share, they'll still remain competitive. You cannot wish them away. Unless you are saying that, okay, post-Anna Hazare movement, the kind of sentiments you had in Delhi, this AAP just swept away all these factors. If that happens, we don't know. But because we saw a similar thing happening in 2017 also in Punjab, it did not translate into seats. So we just have to keep our fingers crossed.
Right. Sankalp, who's a member of our YouTube channel, he wants to know, Uttarakhand and Punjab have a few similarities, he says. How come both Channi and Dhami managed to become faces despite most pundits writing them off?
Dhami, frankly, yeah, there is some similarity because both are accidental chief ministers, we can say. You know very well how Channi came to be selected, because initially there was this talk. Initially, the Gandhis wanted Ambika Soni to go. She refused. Then there was this talk about bringing a Hindu CM, and you must have read what Jakhar has said. Jakhar has had support of a majority of MLAs, but then Ambika Soni went to town saying that we in Punjab cannot be ruled by a Hindu CM. Yeah. Then they were looking at Randhawa, but Sidhu opposed. Then they came to Channi. So this Dalit factor thing, it was not the original plan.
Right.
So first Channi was picked up because there was consensus on him. And then suddenly everybody started clapping, oh, what a master stroke. And then probably the Congress also realized, oh yes, it was a master stroke. But that was not the plan. Dhami, you're talking about, you're sitting in Dehradun, Neelam, while we are talking here. And you have met Dhami.
Right.
Now, the way the chief minister's post became a musical chair in Uttarakhand, we have seen. In 4 months, 5 months, we saw 3 chief ministers coming. I mean,
right.
And another T.S. Rawat coming, and then Pushkar Singh Dhami coming. And Dhami has a support of, I would say, Koshyari or Maharashtra governor. Dhami has been very close to Koshyari, and Koshyari played a pretty important role in installing him there. Whether it works, don't work, I probably keep reading Neelam Pandey's posts from there. And once he's back, probably we'll have another show on Uttarakhand, where I'll get to learn more from her than, lecturing here.
Yes.
So please keep posted. We'll have another show on Uttarakhand once Neelam is back from there next week.
Definitely. And Arun wants to know, his question to you is, what is the mood of the common people in Punjab? Who do they want in power, and what urgent needs do they want the party to address? So he's asking about what is the election campaign all about?
When you're asking about the mood of the common people, again, you're basically asking me to predict which way they're going. I would just give you, just as an excuse, I would say, there was this Canadian educator I've been talking about, Lawrence Peter.
Right.
And he had this wise crack about economists. So he says, in one of his wise cracks, he says, an economist is an expert who will know tomorrow why what he predicted yesterday did not happen today. So you can apply the same thing to political analysts like us also. Which way are the people going? It depends. Look, when you have a multi-corner contest and there are multiple factors. So you have factors like unpredictable factors, like will there be Dalit consolidation in Punjab? There has never been any Dalit consolidation as such, because among Dalits also you have, say, Mazhabis, who are the most dominant subsets. Mazhabis usually have been voting for the Akali Dal. Then you go for Ramdasia, the community to which the Channi belongs, or Ravidasyas, or Adharmis. Largely, they have been voting for the Congress. Then AAP is also in 2017. Also, AAP managed to make some dent there. To expect that now the Dalit chief minister, this entire 32% vote bank, this chunk will consolidate. It's too much, because Punjab does not really work like that. They have not really voted on caste lines. But as one Congress MP was telling me, that is probably be the first time in Punjab's history that there could be a mandal-like election, a voting pattern. Mandal-like means not about backward caste, he was talking about Dalit consolidation. But that is Congress leaders' hope. It has not happened yet. Another factor nobody knows is, okay, so you have the first Dalit chief minister of Punjab. Now, Jat Sikhs, who constitute about 20 to 25% of the population in Punjab, they have been a split between Congress and Akali Dal. Largely, they have been with Akali Dal, but they have been, a section of them have been voting for the Congress also. Now, will there be any counter mobilization? Nobody has the answer, because Jat Sikhs, they have been the property, they have been the privileged class there. Now, to be out of power and one Dalit CM coming there, will there be any reaction? So on the ground, you don't really see, unlike in Bihar or UP, where you see this deep schism or deep rift between Dalits, non-Dalits. Punjab is a largely inclusive society, although institutional religion, if you look at that, so there are some issues.
Right.
Actually, on the ground, you don't really see those rifts. But at the same time, there's always that undercurrent. So, in one of the villages, for instance, I was talking with that's a Dalit locality. And they started telling me, the Jat Sikhs, when it comes to their interest, they go to Delhi and they sit there for 1 year and they get their things done. But they never think about our interest. We don't have anything, they don't fight for us. So somewhere some rift is there. Whether Chandi's elevation will deepen it in favor of the Congress, we don't know. Whether there will be any counter mobilization, we don't know. Then again, which way will the Hindus go? In 2017, because Kejriwal or Aam Aadmi Party was seen kind of flirting with radical elements in Punjab, Hindus had gone en masse to the Congress. Will they stay with the Congress or will they go with the BJP? So there are many imponderables there. It's very difficult to say, because even I was also traveling from one locality to another. The narrative will change. People will start talking different things. In one locality, somebody will be telling you something like, okay, Channi has done a great job. He has waived electricity dues. He has reduced diesel and petrol prices. He's so great. You go to another Dalit Basti, or you have, say, another
in a different
locality. There it is, in our Basti, I have been living in this Basti for 40 years. The sewage, there is no sewage facility even now. Kejriwal has done it in Delhi. We will do that. So once we have these split things coming up from everywhere, it's very difficult for people like us, so-called self-proclaimed analysts, to commit ourselves to to any result.
Well, I'll ask one. Sorry, you were saying something.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I will ask one last question. We don't have much time. Sankalp wants to know, this is something that you have also asked in one of your interviews. He wants to know, are Uttar Punjab and sacrilege still relevant issues?
Not really. Not really. Yes, unemployment is a huge issue. Everywhere I travel to, unemployment is an issue. But there is some kind of unholy consensus, I would say, among politicians there. So you don't really, everybody is talking about freebies. So right from Channi, now Channi told me that, he has disbursed about things worth about 30,000 crore among people in terms of reliefs, in terms of dues waivers and all that. You go to Sukhveer Badal, he again talks about freebies. You go to Akali Dal talks about freebies, free electricity, free water. I mean, Punjabis are spoiled for choices when it comes to freebies. Everybody has something or the other to offer. Every section of the society, right, from students to housewives, everybody. Nobody is talking about the larger issues. So that was what I was telling Sukhveer Badal, that when we're talking about Uttar Punjab. Point is, in Punjab is facing serious problem. There is an agrarian stress. A state which was once known for green revolution is today known for Uttar Punjab, chittas, unemployment, all these things. So Punjab's per capita income, for instance, say in 1990s, and Punjab used to be the third state in terms of per capita income, I think, after Maharashtra and Gujarat. Today it's 10th or 11th. So there is a deep crisis happening, and that's why you see people agitating, youth coming out on the road, and that's where you have this substance abuse things. No party is seriously trying to address that. Although while talking to Sukhbir Badal, he did come out. I said, give me your big vision for Punjab. He says to shift away from agriculture to industry and services sectors. Fine, I had to ask that because nobody else is talking about it. Sukhbir Badal, when he was Deputy Chief Minister, he was for almost 8 years, he ran the Akali Dal BJP government from 2008 to 2017. And that government, that NDA government actually did some pretty good work in terms of infrastructure development, trying to bring in private investment. Some pretty good work was done. And many people remember that. But you do not see any Akali leaders talking about those days. Look, this is what we had done. This is what Congress has done. So some kind of consensus where substantive issues are not being discussed.
Well, thank you so much for your analysis as well as anecdotes. We seem to have got some idea of which way the wind is blowing in Punjab, and we will wait for your reports on the assembly elections, and we will wait for the day the results will be announced.